Hey guys, so yeah, I'm bringing you my review for Eden Zero, Chapter 123. And can anyone explain to me what the fuck is going on here? Because I could have sworn that Chapter 122 was going to be the last chapter of the year, unless I misread it and it was Chapter 123. I don't know, but like I don't know what's going on with Eden Zero anymore. I thought it was taking a. I thought it was after 122 where it was gonna take a break. It was gonna it was gonna take a break for like pretty much. It was gonna take a break after that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just someone let me know if I'm assuming at this point I must have read it wrong. Otherwise, I wouldn't be reviewing this. But yeah. Anyway, blah blah blah. That all that aside, right out of the gate with this chapter, let's obviously talk about Justice, can we who we can clearly you can clearly tell he with Justice specifically and his whole everything he's got going on with him, all his everything that forms his core his basically core ideals, everything he's doing, he's really, when you get down to it, he's really just hiding behind his authority and using it as a means to justify any sort of grudge he not only has against Elsie, but on top of that, though, it's definitely become more clear in this chapter that that what Justice follows is something far away from justice he's fighting by, and it's one driven more by blind revenge and some kind of just pure ideology of of a need in order to cleanse this world of anything evil anything he considers evil, and whether or not he had any genuine ideas about justice to begin with is the even bigger question, because this chapter also gives a dive into how the Eurasian States Interstellar actually works, and how they're essentially the part of the Galactic Union Army with unchecked power and authority. Yeah, you heard me right. According to Justice himself, they're pretty much an organization that basically has the untapped and unchecked power and authority in order to wipe out any potential threats, or any potential threats. And because absolutely nothing goes wrong when you have an organization like that existing within the government. I'll give him credit. It's a great. I'll give him credit just through the interstellar, just the Eurasian States Interstellar existing now. It's a great social commentary on unchecked government power. I'll say that much. But it's like it's even more. It's clear even more now that whatever Justice experienced goes even beyond Elsie, and he's using this unchecked authority in order to blindly commit, with what Justice is basically talking about is mass purging of anything evil, like quote unquote evil, and he's doing it indiscriminately, not realizing that he's okay. Let's say, for example, that someone he takes out just so happens to have done evil acts or something. He's not only not giving that person the ability to possibly reform, but you just know that at least 50% of the time that he's committed these unbiased attacks on people who might potentially be evil. You just know that at the time they're more than likely innocent civilians, probably, who haven't even done anything wrong. Yet it's through this unchecked power plus his mind being solely focused on revenge, that he's become so entrenched and blind in what he's doing that he can't really understand that he can't understand that he's becoming even more the monster than the people and the government are fighting against. And the even twisted part about it is, I think I'm now. Keep in mind, I am going off just the dialogue in this instance, but the twisted part about it, just from the way he talks, I think he strangely seems okay with that as long as he can justify those actions in his head as this greater purpose. Like I think he genuinely enjoys this, even though he hides behind a veil of committing what he sees as justice. It's justice, like goddamn man, like he's basically unhinged. Justice is an unhinged is just an unhinged, and he needs to be reined in. This whole interstellar, this whole Irration Space Interstellar needs to be reined in. Honestly, I don't care. It's oh my god. Okay, so yeah, I went on a bit of a rant there. On that note, let's talk about the fact that Justice has the exact same power as Elsie, which, yeah, just knowing that tiny piece of information is enough to give us a lot more implications of why Justice seems to hold pretty much such an enormous amount of hatred towards Elsie, and the fact that they do, and the fact that they have do in fact, and the fact that they do share this power also seems to show that they have sort of a connected history with each other. The only question is, what are the details of that history? Because at this point, it's either someone who both taught them to use this power, or they both lived on a planet where the inhabitants possess this ability and the planet is in some way destroyed. And probably Justice blames Elsie for that. But at this point, whatever has happened between them is clearly enough in order for Justice to compromise any sense of morality he has, and in this is again is in his head to justify any atrocity he's willing to commit in order to fulfill that twisted ideal, he has. But at the same, but it does kind of just, but at the same time, right now, it does kind, but at the same, this does kind of reinforce that we need a fucking, we need a backstory on this, because it's not, we need a freaking backstory on this, because with the whole thing of Elsie confronting Justice at the end of the chapter, there's not really anything more to say there, other than we kind of need this backstory, because all the pieces right now are in place for it to happen, and considering how much justice is spiraling out of control, this whatever history that Justice shares with him, whatever history that Justice shares with Elsie, it needs to be a damn psychotic and traumatizing past he's got, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to feel sympathy for Justice right now. I'm just saying that right now. Now I will say that there is pretty much one thing I want to address when it comes to Justice's power, which is that I have no problem with Mashima pretty much Mashima with Mashima doing his usual thing of recycling a character's abilities, if as long as he finds a way to kind of improve on it, which of course he pretty much did with this whole star drain thing. The problem I do have, though, and it's kind of an odd nitpick, I guess, in respect, but I am a little more critical of Mashima when he basically starts when he pretty much starts recycling certain names and start recycling certain names. Like in this chapter, we pretty much see Justice using the ability Grand Chariot, and like when it comes to, like, Grand Chariot at this point feels like a little bit of an overused name, maybe because it was used so much in Fairy Tail, but when I see an ability, like when I see just the name Grand Chariot in this chapter, I'm like, okay, I think you could have flexed Mashima, well, he possibly could have pretty much flexed his creative muscles a little more, because I've known Mash from what I've read from Mashima's what I've read from Fairy Tail, pretty much Mashima, he came up with a lot of creative ideas of names for basically just types of magic abilities, all that. So just to see him reuse like an ability I've already seen before, it's It's a little iffy for me just because I'm like I know when it comes to Mashmi he can be a lot more creative than that, so it's like yeah, that's where I kind of get a little more critical, I guess. Um, with that said, we switch to the continuing adventures of Dr. Mueller going fucking insane in this chapter as we see the trauma really creeping in for Hermit. But even more than that is Weiss has now become his captive as well because pretty much Mueller had made the connection and realized that the Weiss we know and his the connection between the Weiss we know and his older self. And honestly, this is something I hadn't thought about before, but after reading through this particular section, I'm really glad Mashima finally addressed it, which is despite him being the younger version, it did always nag at me that people would never be able to recognize the name Weiss and connect the dots between the older and younger one. Um, but or at least just in general of Weiss being like the Weiss Steiner that people know in this world. But pretty much now with this chapter and Mueller being the first person to make that connection, I feel that this is the step towards making the world feel much bigger than it actually is, as just through Mueller recognizing Weiss's just through Mueller recognizing Weiss, it's acknowledging and recognizing what it's acknowledging and recognizing like Weiss's like a lot of Weiss's contributions to this world. Now, with that said, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but what was the bi theory was the Prince Bry theory? Has it been brought up before? Because I think I remember it being mentioned in passing, but I can't remember where specifically. But or if it even was. But yeah, just hearing the term from Spry theory, that sounds oddly familiar. I just can't place it. So someone tell me in the comments if it was mentioned in the series in the previous arc. But in either case, with Prince Mueller like bringing it up this chapter, I definitely want to know what the Bry theory is and what it entails. Also, with Mueller obviously shifting focus to Weiss, you can bet this is going to give Hermit the right opening in order to strike back or hack his body like he did to her, which, if that happens, it's going to be so good. It's going to feel so good and be so freaking ironic. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. And again, sorry this one's late. I don't know, like, what... I thought Chapter 122 was the chapter to cap off the year, but anyway, yeah, just tell me what you guys think of this chapter. Enjoy the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.